Okay, and away we go. We're going to finish up number 48, the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 48. We'll salute Chad Muma, who played really a great game, especially against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in exhibition game number two. The Jaguars beat Kansas City 26-13 in the first preseason game back, about 3 weeks ago. Then they beat Tampa Bay, very convincing, and it's been an interesting preseason. Back on August 17th, the Jaguars beat Tampa Bay 20-7 in the preseason. Then beat Atlanta back on Friday, August 23rd in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 31-0. The Jaguars on top of the Falcons. Jaguars 31, the Falcons nothing back on August the 23rd. So when we talk about the regular season, coming up, that's going to be, against Miami, September the 8th, actually. Jaguars also release a former Steelers wide receiver, Denzel Mims, released on August the 24th of 2024. Kind of a numbers game, but I didn't really see much out of him. The Jaguars just have a glut of wide receivers, and they got some good ones. The Jaguars got some good wide receivers, and when people ask me, what do you see, Scott, about the Jacksonville Jaguars that maybe you haven't seen in the last 2-3 years or even longer? Well, I see, and even last year we had a good team because at one time the Jaguars had it on a roll. They were 8-3. Then Trevor Lawrence, ended up getting as many as 3 injuries, during a period of about a month or more. And the Jaguars ended up losing 5 of their last 6 games. Credit C.J. Beathard starting the Carolina game, and the Jaguars beat Carolina 26-0. And Trevor really needed to recuperate and rest in that game. But give C.J. Beathard credit. C.J. Beathard now got a growing injury in the game against Tampa Bay. Took a hard hit and then came out of the game, I think, a few plays later. But what do I see about the Jacksonville Jaguars now in 2024? I have really got to say that there's more good players on this team than in past years. That's the number one thing I noticed. We'll salute Chad Muma, number 48. Had a big hit in the Tampa Bay game. Man, I saw that one. Man, that was a big hit. Chad Muma, 6'3", 239 pounds. Chad Muma was drafted out of Wyoming back in 2022, moving into his third year as linebacker with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was part of the same draft class as Devin Lloyd, also a linebacker, who was drafted out of Utah. And Chad Muma was drafted, several picks later. I think, what was Chad, a third-round pick, I believe. And again, Devin Lloyd was a late first-round pick. And the Jags actually traded up to get Devin Lloyd. And Devin Lloyd looks like he's put on about 10 pounds of strength in the offseason. That's what it looks like to me when I've seen him pictured. The Jaguars have more good players, than I've seen in past years. Chad Muma wearing number 48, 6'3", 230-pound linebacker out of Wyoming, moving into his third year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm expecting big things from Muma. We saw the big hit in the exhibition game, as I mentioned a moment ago, against Tampa Bay. He just kind of stoned the Tampa Bay ball carrier in his tracks. So we salute Chad Muma, number 48 for the Jacksonville Jaguars on episode show number 48 of the TEAL Shirt Report podcast. Regular season is looming. As you know, it's going to be opening up. As you know, the exhibition season for the Jaguars is going to be opening up September the 8th. We did a little research on that. The Jags have obviously finished the preseason 3-0, but the first regular season game, and the regular season, the first 3 games are going to be tough. At Miami, at home against Cleveland, then on the road Monday Night Football at the Buffalo Bills, and their fine quarterback Josh Allen. We've got Josh Hines Allen now, but of course the Bills have a top quarterback in Josh Allen. I even picked up Josh Allen in the Teal Shirt Report podcast Fantasy Football League. We got about 10 teams in that. That's going to be very, very competitive. We'll try to keep you up to date with that as well. But it starts for real for the Jaguars September the 8th. There'll be no more of this talk of, oh man, they rested their players. Oh, they played their starters in the first or second quarter. Well, I think Atlanta, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it seems like the guys with Atlanta needed some, at least the starters may have needed some first quarter work. They were, I guess, a little worried about injuries. I think every team is, but you can overdo that worry, I think. Guys need some reps. They need some work. You remember when the preseason was 6 games? The preseason used to be 6 games. Back when the regular season schedule was 14 games. Jacksonville Jaguars opened the season in Miami. Jacksonville Jaguars opened the season at 1 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, September the 8th of 2024 at Hard Rock Stadium at Miami Gardens, Florida. That's going to be the first game of the season, and we'll be kind of spotlighting that game in future podcast and broadcast, if you will. So again, the Jaguars coming off the 31-0 preseason win over the Atlanta Falcons. As far as college football goes, man, there's some good games coming up. We know about the Miami of Florida Hurricanes versus the Florida Gators. There are some really good matchups coming up. And I was going to try to pull up the schedule of games that are coming. And you got Florida playing Miami of Florida. That's the Florida Gators hosting the Miami of Florida Hurricanes on August the 31st. And I was going to attempt to pull up the schedule and take a look at some of these games coming up on August the 31st. We know about Georgia Clemson. There's going to be some super games. Georgia playing Clemson. That's in the 12 noon hour. That's a 12 noon hour start, as I understand it. Florida will play Miami at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon, August the 31st. And yeah, there's a lot of football games coming up, as we know. As far as some of the matchups coming up on August the 31st of 2024. Let's see. Clemson plays Georgia. That game's up in Atlanta too. That's going to be a great game, actually. I've got the schedule right here. We'll go back and take a look at the fact that Georgia Tech beat Florida State 24-21. But that game was I didn't even know that. Okay, but Georgia Tech beat Florida State. Florida State was ranked 10th in some of the polls. Georgia Tech, so it's considered an upset. Georgia Tech 24, Florida State 21. Montana State beat New Mexico 35-31. Montana State 35, New Mexico 31 on Saturday, August the 24th. Florida A&M, we told you about this one earlier. Florida A&M 24, Norfolk State 23. That game was played in Atlanta, Georgia. SMU beat Nevada. SMU 29, Nevada 24. These games were played on Saturday, August 24th. I didn't know the Georgia Tech Florida State game was played in Dublin, Ireland. Is that true? I have to look that up. I didn't pay enough attention to that game. I just know Tech won that one. There's other games coming up. There's a full games on Thursday, August 29th, North Carolina, Minnesota. And it's all set for TV. I mean, Western Carolina with Kerwin Bell as the head coach. They play at North Carolina State on Thursday, August 29th. Those are some of the games coming up. Presbyterian at Mercer. Wofford at Gardner-Webb, North Carolina. The Tar Heels at the Minnesota Gophers. Moving ahead to Friday, August 30th, Lehigh at Army. Temple at Oklahoma. Florida Atlantic at Michigan State. That's a Friday night, August 30th game, and there's games almost every night. Elon at Duke, 7:30 on Friday night, August 30th. The big Saturday games on August 31st. Number 14, Clemson playing number 1, Georgia in Atlanta, Georgia, 12 noon kickoff on ABC. You got Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt at 12 noon in Nashville. Illinois State playing at Iowa. Iowa's ranked 25th, 12 noon, Big Ten Network. Austin P at Louisville at 12 noon. I don't want to mention all these, but we'll go down a little bit further. Tennessee's got kind of a podunk junction, but I tell you, Chattanooga, Tennessee, the college UT Chattanooga, they've been a thorn in some team sides over the years, too. Chattanooga playing at Tennessee. Tennessee's ranked number 15. That's on the SEC Network. Moving down to the 3:30 games, we do know about the Florida Gators playing on Saturday, August the 31st. Bucknell plays at Navy at 12 noon on August 31st. Chattanooga at Tennessee, as we mentioned. And let's find the Florida game. Florida Gators, here we go. Number 19th ranked Miami of Florida. They are 19th ranked in one of the polls. Number 19th ranked Miami of Florida Hurricanes at the Florida Gators at 3:30 p.m. The Gators are ranked nowhere except maybe in the top. I think I saw a poll that had Florida ranked 38th. That's not too good. You can correct that by winning a couple of games early, though. Number 19, Miami, Florida at Florida. Miami is like a 3-point favorite at the Swamp at Florida Field. And that kind of surprised me that Miami would be favorite at Florida. But that's the era we're in right now. Billy Napier's got to win the close games. Looking at some other games, North Texas at South Alabama. I had mentioned Alabama and Auburn are both in action that day. We kind of keep up with, Florida State, Miami a little bit, also Georgia Tech, Alabama, Auburn, the Georgia Bulldogs. Saturday, August 31st at 6 o'clock p.m., the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers at the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at 6 o'clock p.m. Alabama A&M at the Auburn Tigers, Saturday evening, August 31st at 6:30 p.m. Those are should be some blowout wins for Alabama and Auburn, but time will tell. What do they call Alabama A&M? Are they the Hornets? Let me look that up real quick. That's always a lot of fun. Alabama A&M's football team. Man, they're going to be playing. They're going to be playing at the Auburn Tigers. Alabama A&M at the Auburn Tigers on Saturday, August 31st at 6:30 p.m. Okay, Alabama A&M. Are they known as the Bulldogs? Okay. So it must be Alabama State that's known as the Hornets, I believe. Unless I'm just totally off base here. Let's take a look. Alabama A&M at Auburn, Saturday, August 31st at 6:30 p.m. Alabama State. I don't have a game to talk about right now, but Alabama State is known as the Hornets. The Hornets, like the Green Hornets, but the Hornets in this case. Okay. So, Florida's playing Miami, Georgia's playing Clemson, Tennessee's playing Chattanooga. That's kind of how some of the SEC games break down. And then you got Florida State's already lost to Georgia Tech 24-21. We will take a look at concerts in and around the Jacksonville area. High school football is also underway. Ed White lost a tough one to Trinity Christian Academy, 21-18. John Gaylor, our correspondent and contributor, said, I believe he told me that Ed White missed all their extra points. And that was the difference in the game by 3 points. They got to work on finding a kicker that can kick extra points. But Trinity Christian Academy, who's almost all the time ranked, and they've won multiple state championships over the years. Ed White gave them a tough battle at Commander Stadium at Ed White on the west side of Jacksonville. Trinity Christian Academy won that game 21-18. That was on Friday night, August the 23rd. That was the same night the Jaguars beat the Falcons. The Jaguars 31, the Falcons nothing. Concerts in the area. High school football back open really everywhere and across North Florida, South Georgia, that pocket of Southeast Alabama. I'll take a look at some concerts in the area. We had updated the concerts a little bit here for you. I want to thank our sponsors too, Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. Also the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Max does a great job on his request show. The Mad Max Mix Internet Radio Wednesday night music request show from 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock Eastern Time. At 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and can be accessed at www.madmaxmix.weebly.com. It's also on our ticker on the YouTube version of our podcast. Shows coming up in North Florida. We want to thank Lakeview Fall of Hits as well. JC does his show live from the pub on Thursday nights. And you can find links to JC's show live from the pub on Thursday nights at Lakeview Fall of Hits. You'll find links for the madmaxmix.weebly.com. And on the homepage, near the North Florida weather information, or right within the North Florida weather information, the middle or somewhere down toward the end of the weather, you'll find a link for Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida, whether it's home, residential, business, or commercial real estate. That's Saucer Realty and Capital. I was looking at the SEC power rankings, and I think I've got, based on everything I've been looking at recently, we're going to have to update these again. I got Georgia 1, Alabama 2, Texas 3, Ole Miss 4, Tennessee 5th, LSU 6th, Texas A&M 7th, Auburn 8th, Florida 9th, Missouri 10th. Missouri's probably got to be higher than that, but we'll take a look at it again. Oklahoma 11th, 12th, Kentucky 13th, South Carolina, Arkansas 14th. The teams, really, at the rock bottom are going to be Arkansas, the Mississippi State 15th, and then Vanderbilt 16th in the SEC power rankings. And that's from, I'm looking at a note from one of our past podcasts. We wanted to throw that in there for you. Again, special thanks to our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, the madmaxmix.weebly.com, and Lakeview Fall of Hits, LakevviewFallOfHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. JC has a live show, JC live from the pub with JC on Thursday nights. And you got Mad Max on Wednesday nights, the Mad Max Mix Internet Radio Wednesday night music request show. Max will play the classic rock groups and many music pop artists on the Mad Max Mix Internet Radio Wednesday night music request show from 7 o'clock p.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and can be accessed at madmaxmix.weebly.com. The music, the concerts coming up around North Florida and surrounding areas. We don't talk about all of them. There's only so much time to talk about, the shows around the area. But these are the shows typically that I recommend to people to go see, or that I would like to see myself. I heard the Christopher Cross show several days ago in August. Was tremendous. Christopher Cross had a lot of guitars in his show, is what I was told by somebody that actually went to the show. Said it was really, really good. Shows coming up. The music group Crowded House will be performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on Thursday evening, August the 29th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Here's a good one. Hootie and the Blowfish on Friday evening, September the 27th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena here in Jacksonville, Florida. KC and the Sunshine Band performing at the Florida Theater on East Forsyth Street. That's KC and the Sunshine Band. KC and the Sunshine Band performing at the Florida Theater on East Forsyth Street here in Jacksonville, Florida on October the 11th of 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Also, Men at Work, they did the song, Who Can It Be Now? Who's coming knocking on my door, right? Men at Work. Men at Work coming to Jacksonville, Florida in just a few weeks on October the 16th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. to the Florida Theater in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. Here's a hidden gem, Lou Graham, performing soon in Mount Dora, Florida. That's Lou Graham of Foreigner fame. That's Lou Graham of Foreigner. Graham spent many years with the group Foreigner. Lou Graham performing soon at the Mount Dora, Florida Community Building. Mount Dora, Florida is located just a little northwest of Orlando. This Lou Graham show is scheduled now for Friday evening, October the 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. That's Lou Graham show. This Lou Graham show is scheduled for Friday evening, October the 25th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Also, Night Ranger, and I've seen them before. Man, those guys are intense. They really are, man. They've got a lot of energy, great guitar playing. They're probably most famous for the song Sister Christian that was done years ago back in the 1980s. Night Ranger will be performing in Orange Park, Florida. That's Night Ranger will be performing in Orange Park, Florida at the Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park, Florida on Saturday evening, October the 26th of 2024 at 7:30 p.m. On this show, the Teal Shirt Report podcast, we talk about the Jaguars. They've got their opening game in the NFL. There'll be no more talk of this. Hey, you're resting the starters, you're playing the starters, and the other team isn't. This is for real. The real bullets start flying on September the 8th. September the 8th, the Jacksonville Jaguars travel down to South Florida to play at the Miami Dolphins. It's going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff. It should be hot down in South Florida. The Jacksonville Jaguars play at the Miami Dolphins at 1 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, September the 8th of 2024 at Hard Rock Stadium at Miami Gardens, Florida. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Miami Dolphins. On September the 8th, kickoff at 1 o'clock. It starts for real. A lot of people have asked me, well, how do you think the Jags will do this year, Scott? I think they're going 10-7. If they do better than that, man, it's a great year. I think 10-7 is a good year, and most likely the Jags will be in the playoffs. If they go 10-7, they should be in the playoffs. If they win 11 games or more, it's a great season. You win 11 games or more, you should get in the playoffs and go on hopefully a deep run, at least winning the first round game or more. And this is 2024. All the games in Jacksonville this year in 2024 and in 2025. 2026, the games will be in Jacksonville too, but the upper bowl of the stadium, they'll start to do some work on the stadium in 2026. And then in 2027, the Jaguars will be playing somewhere else, whether it's in Gainesville, Orlando. I'm not sure that there's anything quite officially announced yet, but the last thing we heard was Gainesville or most likely Orlando. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Again, former Steelers wide receiver Denzel Mims was released just a few hours ago. Yesterday, back on August 24th of 2024. We're recording this podcast on August the 25th, where the Jaguars have just concluded a 3-0 perfect preseason. Can you imagine that? After losing 5 of the last 6 regular season games in 2023, I think the preseason games probably meant more to the Jaguars than some other teams out there. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. This time around, I want to thank our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, Lakeview Paula Hits, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, and want to thank our executive producer, JC, another producer, Alex Nunnery, and our contributor and correspondent, John Gaylor. Thank you so much, John. We salute Chad Mooman, number 48, linebacker with the Jacksonville Jaguars, as we wrap up episode show number 48 of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I'm your host, Scott, and hey, I'm out.